So you got the circus offer and now you have no idea how to negotiate your circus fee. Good news, I've got you covered. Here's the thing. The chances that you're making at least one of the 5 most common negotiation mistakes that circus performers do all the time is pretty high. But the chances that if you fix that, which you will be able to do after this video, and that you get exactly what you want is also pretty darn high. In this video, I'll share my favorite negotiation framework and also some specific examples that you can follow along so you can apply it really to your unique situation. And by the end of this video, you will have the 5-step negotiation process that you can virtually use to get anything you want. I've used this for my entire career and I'm teaching this to all my students. It works like magic. Most important thing is that you know all the 5 steps, because if you only do 2, 3, or 4, it won't really work. So keep watching. I'm not just saying this. My students in my Selling Circus program, they're literally doubling and tripling their fees. Sarah used to charge 200 euro for a single gig, and now she's charging effortlessly 600 euro for her gig, and without actually any travel costs or any accommodation added to it. Or Valerie, she's actually crazy because she negotiated a fee for 2 days of work that she used to get from the same client the previous year for a month of work. I think you can see how effective this process actually is. So if this is something that you like and you want to learn, stick around and let's dive into it. Before I get into the nitty-gritty, there's one thing you need to know, and not many people in our industry actually talk about this. You need to be aware of the one thing that will 100% of the time sabotage, even if you have the best negotiation techniques. And the thing that I'm talking about is you take things personally. Here's the thing. Yes, it does feel personal, but it is so important to understand how to flip this around and to not take it personally. Here's why. When you take things personally, you really react and are reactive, and you come from a place of like a really clouded mindset and a really emotional state. When negotiation is actually about facts and data and finding an agreement on specific things.
All we care about here are the facts.
So you're actively negatively impacting the result of your negotiation if you approach it from a reactive and very emotional way, which usually happens when we take it personally. We feel like it's an attack, we feel like it's something against us, it's something that the person on the other end thinks we are not worth it. But here's something very important that you need to hear. The reality is, it's not about you. Whatever someone offers to you has 99% of the times nothing to do with you, but with their situation, with their budget, with their restraints, with their mindset, with anything to do but you.
No, it's all about you.
There is this fun book that I highly recommend you reading if you suffer from the I take everything personal kind of symptoms. It is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I hope I say this properly. And he has this beautiful quote: "Whatever happens around you, don't take it personally. Nothing other people do is because of you, it is because of themselves." So here's my Selling Circus pro tip for you. In negotiation, you don't take it personally, you take it into consideration. Because when you take things into consideration, this is when the real magic happens. You can stay objective. You have the openness to consider different perspectives. And most importantly, you have the capacity and ability to focus on real solutions to a real problem.
And modern problems require modern solutions.
You know, rather than trying to win the upper hand and to get out of what you want or get out of it, because that's what negotiation is all about. It's being flexible and working together to find the best solution to the outcome that you both want. Okay, now that we have this out of the way, let's get into mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is such a simple one, but most performers still do this every single time they negotiate. And mistake number 1 is you don't know what you want. Because unless you know exactly what you want, it's very hard to negotiate a very specific outcome, right? This means, make a note of this, step 1 of the 5-step negotiation process is always know what the heck you want. In other words, know your outcome. For example, let's say the client offered you 200 euro day fee and you want 260. So that means you want to increase your day fee by 30%. Mistake number 2, you think only in one single way to get what you want. Meaning you think the only way to get your fee increased or to get more out of this contract is to ask the client to pay you more. But actually, there are plenty of ways to increase the value of the contract you're about to embark on. So there's this really beautiful rule that I learned from my business coach, Sunny Lenarduzzi. Big shout out to her. She says you always need to find more than 3 options to one solution. So that means at least 4 different ways that you can come up with to increase the value of the contract that you're about to go on. In other words, step 2 is to determine as many options as possible to achieve one single outcome. As an example, you could come up with 4 different things to the example that I just mentioned. Option 1, of course, ask the client to pay 30% more based on the value that you provide. That would mean you would show the client why your offer is actually valuable, the 30% more. Or option number 2, you could offer the client an act that is perceived as a higher value. That means you could offer an act that would make it easy for the client to pay you the 260. Or option number 3, you could offer to add some add-ons, like you would meet the audience after the show, some VIP service, anything that you could add that doesn't cost you too much, that will help the client to see more value in what you bring. And then option number 4, this is one that I really, really love because that invites the client to get creative and how to increase the value of your offer, is you could ask the client what needs to happen so they can pay you the asking fee. While not all of these options are possible for everyone, it is a way of thinking to really practice in your mind to come up with multiple options to find a solution to the problem that you have. And mistake number 3 is one that I feel so guilty about because I've done this so many times, especially when I didn't know yet how to negotiate. It's this almost like natural reaction that you get to any negotiation or to any price offer that you get, and it is that you disagree before you agree. Here's the thing, our mind is wired to look for mistakes. That's just how our mind is wired as humans. So the first thing we always look for is what doesn't work. Okay, I don't like this. This doesn't work for me. Oh my God, this is a really bad offer. In your mind, you make this list of all the things that don't work for you. But in negotiation, which is by nature the process of coming to an agreement, do you see what's happening? You actually just came up with all the things that you disagree with. So the next thing that needs to happen is you need to come up with all the things that you agree with, as specifically as the list of the things that you don't agree with. And ideally, you want to have double as the things that you don't agree with. And I'm going to tell you in a minute why. I mean, think about it. Have you ever had an argument with someone and they come to you and they tell you, you're wrong. This is what I don't like. This is what you do wrong. This is all the things that I don't want and I disagree with. It really puts you on the defensive, right? But if they say 20 things they love about you, they say, I love how you approached this. Your energy was incredible. Your voice was incredible. How you went about it was incredible. I so admire how you stood there and really tried your absolute best to make it work. But here's this one thing that I think we could work on, or the one thing that I think I would like to change, and here is why. XYZ, and then you continue with all the things that work. It's called a feedback sandwich, and it's the same thing in negotiation. Because when you show all the client first all the things that you disagree with, which would be, hey, I love the length of the contract. Thank you so much for the accommodation. I agree with the travel fee. So you really want to make a list of agreements, all the things that you agree with, and then say, but here's one thing from all this perfection here that I don't agree with, that I would like to negotiate, and that I would like to find a better agreement on. And then do you see how the value between this one is so tiny, small here, and all the positive is so big? So now the action the client can take is, hey, they're on board. They agree with me. So the overall feeling the client is getting, they're agreeing with me and they're happy to work with me, because that's an important feeling that you need to deliver to your client. But there's this one thing that they want me to change or to look into, and they're so much more willing to do that after you actually agreed with all of the other things. So step number 3 of your 5-step negotiation process is to find a list of potential areas of agreements. I always recommend doing this process and write everything down, because it's the best way to go prepared into negotiation. And I know negotiation is not easy, but if you want some help with this and you want to get on the fast track, I run a program called the Selling Circus Method, where I teach circus professionals from all over the world how to market and sell their work properly. And if you want to learn this and so much more and get finally really full control of your circus career, there's a link below this video to speak to me directly. Maybe we are a great fit to work together in the Selling Circus program, which is basically a fully constructed program to teach you the whole process of creating, marketing, and selling your work. And I'd love to have your beautiful butt in the program. So link below this video. I see you on the inside. Mistake number 4 is you come unprepared. So a lot of circus performers, they're kind of going to negotiate like almost like it's war. You know what? Hey, don't write things down. They just go like, okay, I need to push. I need to convince the client. I just need to, and they wing it. And of course, they don't get the result that they want. So mistake number 4 is you are not prepared. What I mean by this is you want to really learn to isolate the specific issues that you want to discuss, which should be now much easier once you've done step 3, right? You want to isolate the issues and then really come up with a specific plan how you want to discuss them. Do you want to say, I am worth more because of my value? Do you want to discuss it in a way that you say, hey, actually, it costs me much more to be in your show? You need to have a specific reason and why you actually ask the client to change something specific that they offered. And you want to have a plan how to do that. So instead of saying, hey, dude, pay me more, pay me what I'm worth. That's very challenging for a client, by the way, because they're like, why? Because obviously they want to pay you what you're worth. That's, I think, a misunderstanding of a lot of performers. Clients are not usually out there to go, oh, how can I take advantage of all these performers? No, they're trying their best, and you need to help them to understand you by preparing and giving them enough information to make a different choice based on what you've told them. Okay, going back to, instead of saying, hey, dude, pay me more, you can say something like this. I love this opportunity and I want to be 100% part of it. For me to do that, I would have to charge my regular act fee that I charge for shows like yours. It is important to me to keep things fair because other clients have already paid my asking price of 260 instead of 200 euro. Let me know if there's any room for negotiation in your current budget. I would love to make this work and give your audience the most extraordinary experience. Recap on step 4. You want to have the specific issues identified and a clear plan on how to discuss each individual one of them. We made it already to the last step, and this one is honestly, having been on both sides, performing and producing, this is one of the most annoying but also the most frustrating and hurtful, and there's all the negativity around the last mistake because it often breaks a negotiation. It often brings the client and the performer apart, which is literally the opposite of a negotiation. And it is a mistake that so many performers do all the time. And it is this one. You want perfect or you want nothing. The reality is every show, every opportunity that is coming your way is entirely unique and really requires a unique perspective of going about it. Because here's the thing, the real magic happens between the lines. The real magic happens when you know what you want, you do this process properly, and you allow yourself and the client to be flexible and work on the only thing that's required for this negotiation, which is to come to an agreement, not to a disagreement. So what I'm about to say might be a little bit challenging, because it was certainly challenging for me to come up with one option of any offer that you get. I call it the second best alternative to an agreement. What would be the next closest option to the agreement, that your ideal agreement, that you would be happy to do? It's like you challenge yourself to be open and to be okay with something that's not exactly what you want. Because here's the thing, it rarely goes exactly how we want it. And the more we get comfortable, flexible, and creative with this, and I'm not saying, this is very important, I'm not saying to never aim for what you want, because most of the time, because of this process, you will get what you want. But if you have this mindset of, I am okay with different perfect options, and they can look like this, or like this, then you will have the perceived experience of your career of being more fulfilled, of having a closer relationship with your clients, and for your clients to have a much better relationship and experience with you, which in return leads to a long-term success because they have a good perspective to you. They think about you in a specific way that really enhances you and that they want to recommend you to other people. So it's this two-way thing. I think I say this is the most challenging because, of course, we are taught in our industry to fight for our negotiation. But I believe there is so many facets to it. And it really comes down to working together with the client. And often a yes that you didn't think of initially can be the most magic experience. So I've had some of my most incredible experiences. And what are these called? Flipboard? The ones that catapult your career. these opportunities. I had some of these because I said yes and I was like, oh, this is not ideally what I want, but I want the contract, I want the connection, I want the collaboration. And it literally, because I was in a state of openness and agreement, everything just became from that, and more opportunities came from this. So mistake number 5 is really something that requires you to be open to opportunities and to be open to think of a second best agreement, and not to see it only as there is this one ideal agreement, but there's a second that is also best, that you will be absolutely okay with. And yes, this is entirely personal. I can't give you a script here, because you need to really lean into yourself and nuance yourself out of the agreement, one step out, and see what feels right for you. What can you do to feel still okay and to make this the best opportunity that you can have at the moment? And from a strategic perspective, when you have already in your mind thought about other options that you are absolutely happy with, can you imagine how comfortable and how easy you will be in the negotiation process? So again, it allows you to have more capacity, more bandwidth, to be more flexible within your boundaries, obviously, and to have an even better result from your negotiation. And this is it. These are the 5 biggest mistakes. And just a quick recap, this is your 5-step negotiation process. Step 1, you determine your outcome. Step 2, find options more than 3. Step 3, identify points of agreement. Step 4, plan and prepare for points of disagreement. And step 5, best alternative to agreement. My recommendation is saving this video and write the steps down on a little sticky note so you always have it handy when you get to a new negotiation. Again, if you want to learn this and so much more, I would love to help you. I do this all day, every day. This is my zone of genius. So if you want to speak to me directly, there's a link below this video. We might be a perfect fit to work together in the Selling Circus program, the only business program out there to properly create, market, and sell your circus work masterfully. Again, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it beyond words. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, and maybe consider watching this video. I think you would enjoy it if you enjoyed today's, and I'll see you in the next video. And yes,